Hey everyone, this is our first post-production wrap-up video for one of our audiobook projects, and hopefully not the last. At least we've started a little bit of work, but we'll get to that in a bit. I figured I'd take the opportunity to, make a little bit of a video about our experiences making our first dramatized audiobook for Boogiepop and Others.
And what an experience it was.
Yes. This is Ektro, also known as Paul, and anyone who follows our ice cream podcast probably already knows my real first name by now. And of course, we have Holly here.
Hello.
And also, anyone who follows our ice cream podcast will know that this is going to be a very similar format to the one that we used for those podcasts.
And if you don't, you should. It's called Scooped, and we're awesome. We get to review ice cream. But anyway, this is a different project.
Right, and we'll probably plug that in right now. Okay. So, moving on, I figured I'd take, as I said, the opportunity to go over a little bit of our experiences making our first dramatized audiobook. I chose Boogiepop and Others because I'm a big fan of the series. I have been ever since back in... I don't know when it was. When was I starting to work at Nava? Do you remember? It's got to be 3 years after... When I was 29. 2019? Maybe around then.
No, hang on. How long did you work at Nava?
I worked there for like 2 horrible years.
So, yeah, I would say late 2017, early 2018, because you worked there for 2 years, and then you quit, and then, well, not quit, it dissolved. But then COVID happened right at the time that you were getting a new job, right? You were like all set to start your new job, and you got all the paperwork in the mail, and then everything shut down.
Mm-hmm. Fun times.
So that was definitely the timing of that. That was 2020, so backtrack 2 years would be 2018.
Okay. So yeah, around that time, Trixie the Golden Witch, at that time known as Digibro, made a series of videos. It could have been like before that time, but that's when I first watched those videos about Boogiepop. And the way they described it just like really interested me. So I went on eBay and I ordered the first couple of volumes. So I think it was like volume 1, 2, and 3. And I read them and I was pretty hooked at that point. I then went and ordered the manga on eBay for the first volume. And then I picked up the Boogiepop Phantom DVD set. I ordered, which was volume 6. And I also picked up volume 5. And at that point, volume 4 hasn't been, officially translated. But I went through the series pretty quickly, and I was a gigantic fan of it.
I was going to say, so would you say an obsession was built kind of quickly?
It was.
Because you said that's like a lot of things to collect.
I was very interested in the series. I also picked up the manga for Boogiepop Duel. It's definitely interesting. Canon-wise, does not seem to be canonically part of the same series, but, Boogiepop is a weird series with weird timelines, so I don't know, it could be like a future thing, could be a past thing. I'm not entirely certain, but no one really talks about Duel. It's like the Tsukihime of Boogiepop, I feel like. Like the Tsukihime anime. Like, no one really talks about it. But yeah. Big fan. I really like the Boogiepop series, and I figured if I was going to start doing an audiobook, I wanted my first, series to be one that I really enjoyed, so I would keep interested throughout the whole thing. So I went with the first volume of Boogiepop and Others.
So, but what initially inspired you to make an audiobook in the first place? Because I know you've been toying with the editing stuff for a while. That's a passion of yours.
Right. I've been editing all kinds of videos now for the past 4 years or 5 years or something, starting with Super Smash Brothers videos. And then I was just messing around with animations for a while. But you're asking what?
Why audiobooks?
Okay. So I listened to a lot of audiobooks, even before I just started to make this. Like, the first thing that I would, like, consider to be an audiobook that I really got into was, Tyranny of Let's Dub's, like, visual novel dubbing. Not exactly an audiobook, but I was just very impressed by the production value of everything Tyranny and his team over at the Let's Dub was doing. You listened and watched the one for Cartagara, right?
Yes.
And then we also listened together to the one for, why is my brain not working?
Kara no Shoujo, right?
No, they didn't do the one for Kara no Shoujo. Katawa Shoujo.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking that, but I said the wrong.
Right.
I do that constantly.
Getting Japanese words mixed up?
Yes.
All right. But at least you knew what I was talking about. So we watched 2 of their series, and I just really loved their work. And then I started listening to Ghost Reader's ReZero series, and he has up to volume 7, I think, completed right now. And I just loved the fact that he picked up where the audiobook publishers, like, did not do anything for a series that I really love, and he brought it to, like, a very digestible way to more people than would be, like, able to consume it otherwise. Particularly, like, people who have, like, reading impairments.
Yeah, and also people who don't necessarily speak Japanese. Like, a lot of this content originates in Japan, right? The translations are sometimes really great, but sometimes I'm sure things are, like, lost. And it's unfortunate that the voice acting doesn't always get done in English, so it is not as accessible, like you were saying, for everyone. And I think that this, like, projects like these allow for a larger variety of people to access the content.
Yeah. One of the things that, like, really inspired me to do this was I had a student last year. He wasn't able to, like, he had, we're both teachers, and he had trouble reading. And I thought to myself while working with him that it must really suck to not be able to read books, like the books that you want to read. And I know that from experience also, just being, like, a person who enjoys Japanese content and not everything is translated. But even if it was translated, it would still be inaccessible to people like him who have difficulties reading. So I think audiobooks in general are, like, a public service in a way to people who would not be able to consume the original works otherwise. And I say original works because most of the anime and manga, like, a lot of it originates as light novels. So I just like the idea of being able to make it more accessible to other people. And also, when I worked at Nava, it was mind-numbing, and I hated it, and I got bored so easily, and one of the only things that kept me going besides Trixie's YouTube videos and the Procrastinators podcast was just listening to absurd amounts of audiobooks. Like, I listened to all of It by Stephen King.
I remember that. That's when you listened to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I listened to an audiobook of it, and
that had to be an experience.
Yeah, I got through it in, like, a couple of days, like a week. I was blowing through, like, internet content like crazy during that time in my life.
That novel, correct me if I'm wrong, is like 40 hours?
Yeah, 40 hours.
On an audio?
Yeah. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, which means that it's probably about 5 times longer than most typical books.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for context, our project ended around, what, 6?
6 hours, 4 minutes, and 17 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, so 6 hours approximately, and some change.
Right. So
imagine
it was about 7 times that amount.
Imagine 7 of these in a row. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's literally it. That's it's kind of insane. I don't know if I'd ever do a project like that, but yeah, it was it's nice that they did.
The longest audiobook I ever listened to was about 24 hours.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Which one?
I'm not proud to say.
Okay, fine.
It was a Court of Mist and Fury in the ACOTAR series.
Ah. Nice. Yes.
Nobody judge me, okay?
I bet most of them don't even know what that is. Well, most of the people listening to Boogiepop and Others.
You don't think there's crossover?
I don't know. Maybe I'll make it.
I hope the crossover you've been waiting for. The Sarah J. Maas, what's the author's name of Boogiepop?
Kohei Kodono?
Yes, the Sarah J. Maas Kohei Kodono crossover.
Yeah, I don't want to read that. That sounds weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, I figured we move on to now our experiences with the project. It was definitely interesting. Like I said before, I had a lot of experience working with, like, making videos beforehand. I was probably working on making videos on and off for about 4 to 5 years. Although most of them were, like, Super Smash Brothers videos. I was making, like, clip videos, montages, guides. So I built up like maybe 2-3 years of experience just doing that. And then I started just working on more complicated animation videos. And I feel like specifically the animation videos, it kind of gave me enough of a skill set where I felt like I could tackle a project like this. I had to learn a lot of things. Like, Ghost Reader was able to, like, walk me through, like, ways to improve after I posted my first video. And I was able to use a lot of those tips to, like, significantly improve the quality. Like, I've listened back to that first video and it was just so bad. And it was so, like, you could hear all the static and all the tongue clicks. And yeah, I had to learn how to use Audacity, which it wasn't hard, but it was also like, it was like a new thing I had to learn. But more difficult than learning Audacity was just me learning to talk without making tss and click sounds when I was talking. Like, I learned to just do that, like, naturally without, like... So, basically, I wanted to make it so I had less work to do in post-production. Because I don't like post-production hassles. Like, I wanted to just get good enough that I can just record it without having to, like, really do a whole lot of editing at the end.
Well, that's understandable.
So, yes. So, mostly, to do this project, I had to learn, like, audio engineering to, a minor degree. And, like, it was a little bit rough over the first couple of chapters. I wasn't using Audacity right off the bat. Well, I was technically, but I was stupid and I didn't realize Audacity gives you a way of recording, like, through the program itself. I was still recording from a Sansone,
the microphone program
that came with the microphone, and then I was putting it through Audacity in, like, little clips, and that took so long and it was so stupid.
Yeah, we definitely, at the beginning of this, were working harder, not smarter.
Yeah.
Especially, like, that's also kind of how I got involved in the project at all, is because you were losing your ever-loving mind trying to do every single character ever.
Well...
And, I mean, like, you were doing fine, you could have done it on your own, but you had already done, like, a feminine voice for, I guess it would have been, was it K at the beginning, or was it?
Yeah, it was K.
It was K?
And it was bad, but that was also just due to my inexperience with trying to voice a feminine voice. I've gotten a pretty good range now. At least I feel like I've gotten...
But could you do however many different female characters?
I mean, I basically did them all by myself. If you think about it, throughout the entire audiobook, I have at least voiced all the characters at least once. I did Comic Shiro. I did Kei's voice. I did the Manticores. The only one I actually don't think I did was Suema's.
Yeah, that was all me. And I did Suema a lot.
Yeah, you did.
Because,
well,
the incident.
Well, it wasn't that big of an incident. We needed a specific tone, and you made her sound, not...
I was too happy.
You were too happy.
Apparently I was too happy. Now, mind you, I was recording for like an hour or however long by myself. I get it all done. I'm so thrilled with it. I submit it. I'm like, yeah, I just recorded my first chapter. And he just he listens to it and then looks at me and he just wants to say something. And he doesn't know how to say that this is all wrong and we have to do it again. But he, in the nicest way, tried to say that, and was, dancing around it. I'm like, so you want me to do it again? You just say you want me to do it again.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said.
And he was like, I want you to do it again. And we were like, after that, he always kind of stayed in the space with me, and we did, more hands-on directing.
Right, because I just let her go off and do her own thing in a different room. What was it? Something was going on in here, and it was making too much noise.
It was probably the cat, to be honest. It's always the cat.
It's always the cats. Something was going on in the room where I usually record. So you went into your own room and closed the door and started recording. And, I should have just waited, but I was on a crunch deadline. Throughout this entire project, felt like one big time crunch.
Even though... For the record, at one point he was 8 weeks ahead of schedule. He had 8 videos prepped and ready to go, and he was like, when are we going to record the next one? I'm like, dude, you need to breathe. For 5 minutes. You need to take a moment and breathe.
Yeah, look where we are right now, though. If we weren't ahead of the schedule that much, we wouldn't be able to finish on time right now, how I wanted us to.
Look,
I'm good with my time management, honey. That's the one good thing I have going for me as a human being.
Well then.
All right. Anywho, I picked up a lot of little tricks, mostly audio engineering stuff to get through this project. And as I said, I also had to get real good at pronunciations and inflections, and I had to
What did you get good at?
Don't look at me like that.
I'm sorry. That's just
pronunciations.
That's some excellent irony, and I love it.
I hate you.
Yes, pronunciation.
I
wish that we had saved some of the more ridiculous pronunciation clips from both of us, because honestly, a Boogiepop blooper reel is something I would have loved to watch.
Well, maybe we'll do that for the next project.
Because
we'll save the worst ones.
Yeah, there were some doozies, and then there were some that were totally fine that Paul would be like, I hate this, and delete it.
I'm very specific, and I think it led to a really good project in the end.
Yeah, but I mean, we have ideas for how to improve the recording again for the next one, because of an obstacle we ran into, or at least I ran into. I did not work on this as consistently as Paul did. I would do some of my recordings, and then he would do his editing stuff, and then it would be a couple days later, maybe a week later, when I would have to record again. And I would have to spend so much time going back and listening to how I said things as different characters. And it was just taking too much time to continuously wait, how does Nagi sound? Or, oh my god, did I already use this voice for somebody else? Things like that. So in future, we plan on doing longer recording sessions.
Preferably.
Ideally, ideally we will have an 8 to 10 hour day where we just knock out
the whole
thing in one shot, and then add any additional
stuff afterwards.
Stuff after that. But again, we shall see how that goes. I think it'll be cool, though. It will definitely help with that one issue.
Like, consistency has been a big thing. And also, like, yeah, sometimes I found one of my biggest, like, pain in the butt things to deal with when we were going through this entire project was re-recording things that I wasn't happy with the first time around. And I don't know, I feel like it'll help with even with the consistency and not messing things up if we just keep going. Like, also matching up tones was like a real problem.
Exactly, because if you are having, speaking one way on a Tuesday, and then, Friday rolls around and you try to do it again, and you're like, wait, what did I sound like? Why am I British all of a sudden? It was things like that were happening kind of a lot. Yeah,
there was like one situation where I was going crazy for like 2 hours trying to re-record like 2 sentences to make them match up and put them into where they were supposed to be because the first versions just sounded terrible. And like I was trying to like use the audio engineering technology to try and force it to fit the spot, but it just wasn't working. And then I realized eventually that I was just too close to the microphone, and if I just dialed it back and moved backwards by like an inch or two, the voice tone matched up with the old one. Oh god, that was like the most frustrating thing I had to deal with. But yes, we'll be working smarter, not harder in the future with a lot of the reading sections, and particularly with us working together at with our. I guess we could just say it because it doesn't really make a difference. Our next project, I'm not going to give the name, but what I'm saying is that we have to change the format based on our upcoming project.
Right, because Boogiepop, we got lucky in a way because it was structured narratively with different narrators for each chapter. So it was pretty simple to be like, oh, okay, Kay's narrating this one, so it's a female voice, so I'll do the main narration, and, that will be the plan. If it switches to, Masumi, then that's when you'll take over, right? That was pretty much how
they were set in their own chapters.
Yeah.
I guess we could just announce now that we are planning to do a different book next. We will give a little bit of a hint later, but this next book is going to be more narratively typical.
Yeah.
In the sense that there is one narrator and there's only 2 male characters in it, and there are 11 female characters in the book. So the way that we're going to be setting this up is I do all the inner narrating and then voice the 2 males, and you voice the other 11 female characters.
I'm gonna be busy.
Yes, but also I'm going to be busy because I'm never going to be...
You're the main narrator.
Which means I'm never going to be shutting up.
Great.
But generally speaking, I think that this should equal close to a 50-50 between the work. Probably a little bit more on my side, because our narrator in our upcoming project thinks a lot.
He's introspective, is he?
Yeah, that's putting it lightly.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Yes.
So,
always thinking of nonsense. Anyway, so basically what I'm getting down to is we'll be able to watch each other's pronunciations.
Good job.
Pronunciations like right then and there. So if one of us messes up a name, which happened a lot in like chapter 3, and if you were there sitting next to me, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have messed up Kusatsu's name like all the time.
I forgot about that.
Yes. And anywho, along with that, we also had to do a little bit of research, because I wanted to do the best job possible we could with the delivery of these lines. So me in particular, I spent a whole 2 days just researching how and practicing how to do Boogiepop's voice in general, because the original voice I used for Boogiepop in the first 2 videos, I did not like after listening to them a couple of times, and it was like, I could do better than this. So I for the first time, watched the live action film, and then I rewatched a couple of segments of Boogiepop Phantom, and then I begrudgingly watched the first 3 episodes of Boogiepop and Others 2019. Yeah,
Which is, like, visually stunning, but not the greatest plot.
It's not a good adaptation.
It's not a good adaptation.
No.
It's difficult to follow unless you've read the source material.
The music was great. It's just, they really butchered the adaptation in terms of, like, actually telling what's great about the story. Hashtag justice for Akio.
I was gonna say, your guy, like, doesn't exist.
He doesn't exist in the entire book.
He just gets cut.
He just gets cut, and it makes me angry, because chapter 4 is literally the best chapter in the book.
I was gonna say, would that be a good time to just talk about favorite characters? Can we move to that, since we're on the subject?
Basically, all I was gonna say is, I had to do a lot of research and practice on Boogiepop's voice. Like, it took, and if anyone, like, paid attention to it, I used a very similar voice for Miyashita, except when I did Boogiepop's voice, I took all of the emotion out of it. But when I did Miyashita, I used the same kind of, like, muscles in my throat, but I added, like, a little bit of a feminine voice into it. I don't know if anyone picked up on that, but I worked really hard on both Boogiepop's and Miyashita's voice, making them similar, but the delivery was slightly different.
That's cool.
And the only other thing I was going to talk about, like, this whole section has been about, like, audio engineering, was you can't imagine how many sound effect files and ambiance files that I had to, like, collect for this project.
Oh, I can imagine.
I literally, like, used GarPro to dump all of the the audio files from Wonderful Everyday, Kara no Shoujo, and, like, a couple of other little things, like Sui no Sora. And then I took, like, so many sound effects off of YouTube and off of random sites.
And then we also, like, made some. I remember the one in the taser scene where the taser slides across the ground.
Yeah,
we had, what did we use? I forget.
We used something, it was plastic, and we rolled it across the floor to make that sound effect.
Yeah, it was like was it the laser pointer? It might have been the laser pointer.
Maybe.
I don't know, but it was something, and I kept having to, like, slide it across the desk to get the recording.
Yeah, but in the end, we ended up collecting, like, 8.89 gigabytes of sound effects and ambiance. Which, if anyone here knows about sound effects don't take up that much space. So, hopefully it lasts us for, like, most of our future projects.
I think we have enough sounds, probably.
But anyway, back to favorite characters, like what I kind of touched on with Akio, Kimura Akio. You guys should know him as a protagonist from Chapter 4. I would definitely say he's my favorite character, but also the Manticore.
She's cool.
Like Akio, I understand from... I like him because his story just gets to me. Like, he's hung up on this girl who, like, disappeared from his life, and he's left just not knowing what happened. And, like, that whole idea of not knowing what happened, like, that just gets me. Like, it just hit me in the emotional feels, you know what I mean? Like, the not knowing of how something happened or why something happened, and having to live through the rest of your life without getting that answer, that's just really sad to me, and I really like his character for that reason. And I heard that he has some involvement in the later volumes. I've read up to volume 9 myself, but I haven't seen him yet, so hopefully he returns in, like, a later Boogiepop volume in the future. But also, as I said, I think the Manticore herself is fascinating. And reason being is she brings up in my brain this whole nurture versus nature debate. Like, the Manticore is a clone of Echoes. Echoes is a benevolent character. And Echoes, like, he has knowledge, I guess, from whoever sent him to Earth to, like, judge the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But the Manticore started off life on Earth without any sort of extra knowledge. So basically, I guess you could say the Manticore, while being an alien, is also an Earthling because they were born on Earth. The only thing they knew was Earth. And they were warped by the evils of humanity because they were cloned and abused and tortured in the lab as a test subject. So it makes me wonder, like, one, if the Manticore came into the world in a situation where they were not tortured like they were, how would they turn out? Would they turn out like Echoes? And also, what if she didn't just run into Satome? Like, this, the crazy sociopath that he is. The first one to show her kindness.
Is a crazy sociopath.
Like, what happened if she ran into someone who, like, wanted to help her? Like, could she have changed? And I've read volume 8 and 9, and I'm not going into... Huh? Oh, sorry. And I went into volume 8... I've read volume 8 and 9, and I'm not going to go into, like, the particulars of why that's, like... how would I put it? Relevant to this, but it's just like, I just wonder if the Manticore was brought up in, like, different circumstances, would she turn out just at least slightly different?
I mean, I would probably agree. I feel like she would, personally. But also, something that, well, this is not really a favorite, this is actually a critique of the novel, so I don't know if you're gonna get mad at me.
Oh, go ahead, I don't care.
I feel like I want a side story, I want a spin-off book just about the Manticore's experience with the organization. Because I want to know why. I want to know why we're like this. I want the source. I want the explanation. Like,
why did they turn out the way they did?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I want to know. I think the Manticore is a great character, and I would love to find out more about her, but yeah, that ain't happening.
No, I know. It would be really cool, though.
Mm-hmm. And how about you? Who would you say was your favorite character?
I love Nagi. She's such a badass. I mean...
She's Batman.
She is Batman, essentially. She's pretty cool. I also just, like, my nerd side loves Suema as well, because she's me. Yeah. On the page. In a weird way.
Yeah, if you like Nagi, you're definitely going to like, the one character who I talked to you about briefly in the book that we're going to be working on next. She's crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
We love to see
Rage
it.
Girl, I guess is a good way of putting it. That's one of her nicknames, Rage Girl. And, how about, what would you say would be your favorite chapter? Mine, personally, is chapter... it's hard. I go back and forth between 3 and 4 a lot. My delivery in 3 was crazy good, and I'm really proud of how that came out. And also, I learned that I can play messed up characters really well.
You're scary good at Masumi. It's like, it's unsettling to me how much... So, I dreaded anytime he showed up in one of my chapters, because I suck at Masumi's voice. Okay? And I appreciate those of you who have complimented my delivery for some of the scenes, but I have to tell you the number of takes it took to get to that point, and the number of times Paul had to say the line first, and I had to try and repeat it in a similar tone, and then I would make him do it again, and then I would do it again, and it was a back and forth multiple times, because I could not hold on to his voice for the life of me. It left my brain immediately after every single recording.
And it is just a natural thing for me.
Shut up! I hate it! It's scary! So yeah, that was a whole production. But I guess, I don't know if I have a favorite chapter overall. I can tell you a part that I was really proud of, because once again, I was absolutely dreading the singing.
Oh, and you did such a good job.
I'm really proud of how it came out. I don't know if you did audio tricks.
I did not do anything to it.
What? But
I just got rid of the background static.
I'm really proud of it. I think it came out really good. I think it does the song justice. And I think that it sounds pretty. Like, I'm not a trained singer. I cannot sing outside of the car or my shower. Like, I don't do that.
And I'm not a trained whistler, but I had to get good.
So I was just, like, terribly anxious and dreading that part the entire novel. And it happened to turn out really nice. So.
On the first attempt.
Yeah, that was a let's do it and get it done kind of thing, because again, I was dreading.
And it came out perfect.
It ended up working out, which was nice.
Yes. But I took care of all the whistling.
Yes, he's the whistler in the family. I can't whistle.
Yes, I don't think I'm that great.
I can, but it's not consistent.
Yeah. But I'm not bad. I'm not great, but also Die Meistersinger von Nürnberg is a pain in the butt to whistle, and I never want to have to do it again. I'm sure I will when I eventually go back to this series, but that was a real pain in the butt to whistle. Like, I can whistle Godzilla themes. I can whistle anything else that I listen to on, like, the radio, or when I have to, like, explain yeah, like that.
That's the extent of my whistling.
I can whistle something to tell a person, like, what I was listening to, but Die Meistersinger von Nürnberg, it was, like, a real pain in the butt to whistle. It took me, like, 2 hours to record the first version for Chapter 1, Part 4, and then I went crazy when I was doing the one that we used in Chapter 5, Part 4, and I ended up whistling it in chunks, and then I just put all those chunks together to make it, like, one cohesive thing. Like, instead of doing it in 1 or 2 takes, I did it in, like, 8. So, I mean, it works. And then I did and when Nagi and Kay are singing and whistling together, I did the whistling and you did the singing. Mm-hmm. And then I put it together in post-production.
Yeah.
Except I had to, like, listen to your version and whistle alongside it so all the timing matched up correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It was definitely a lot of work.
But it came out nice.
It did. And I'm, again, very proud of it. It was not something I was excited to do. But I'm really happy with the outcome.
Well, luckily for you, there's no singing involved or whistling in the next book.
Thank goodness.
And
I did hear I get to be a real mean one for one of the characters.
Oh, she's a bitch.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think you're really going to enjoy her character. I'm not going to go into details about it, but you need to read the book, and I think you'll figure out which character it is pretty quickly once you run into her.
All right.
Yeah. And then how about specific parts? My favorite part, I got 2. 3. One was the end of Chapter 4. Like when I was
the news report.
No, that was 5.
Oh.
Chapter 4, at the end of Chapter 4 was when Akio was, like, in the basement of the school, and he found the hand, and it was...
Oh.
Yeah, and he was just breaking down. I, like, channeled some, really... I think I channeled some old breakup energy there, which is part of the reason why I felt like Akio was, like, very relatable to me as a character, because I dealt with a past relationship like that, where my ex just up and disappeared from my life. I still don't have a lot of answers from that. And so I just channeled that.
Yeah, but she most likely wasn't murdered by an alien.
Probably not.
Probably not.
But I still channeled that energy, and I think it came out really well. Also, the end of Chapter 3... No one lives forever.
Stop it. If I ever run into Danny Elfman on the street,
You're gonna get angry with him?
I'm gonna trip him.
But yeah, I did that all in one take also. After listening to the song No One Lives Forever, like on repeat for an entire hour.
For days.
Well, for days, but like right before I recorded it, I did it in one take after listening to the song on repeat in my headphones for like a full hour.
Dang.
I was really proud of how that came out. I didn't stop. I took breaths, like very small breaths in between, but I did not like break that up into like multiple recordings. That was all done in one shot. But yeah, I had to like work out my lungs a little bit beforehand so I didn't die. And then the one other scene I really liked was the Pillar of Light news report.
Yeah, that was fun to do.
Yeah, and you didn't really think that was going to work out as well as it did.
Well, it's not that I didn't think it was going to work out. It's that I wasn't sure what was going to be able to be heard necessarily. But I was really... I think one of... Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought I was the one who suggested having news stuff in the background.
Were you?
I thought so. I thought that... Or Either I suggested it or you suggested it, and I was a big fan of the idea, because I wanted the news reports to be in there for sure. I just didn't know
how it would work out.
How it would come through, but I think the editing is really well done.
Yeah, it took me a while. I had to balance things out. Like, when new stuff comes in, make everything else fade out just slightly, and then by the end, everything was, like, balanced enough where I guess if you listen really hard, you could probably make out what they're saying, but it's supposed to also sound like a bunch of angry people talking, angry and frenzied people talking over each other. And I was reading that section, like in the book, and I was like, how am I going to adapt this? And then I remembered that one scene from Godzilla vs. Hedorah. I doubt you remember it. We only watched the movie once, where there was a whole bunch of people on the news in multiple televisions stacked up on top of one another, and they're just talking over each other. And it's just like a really good representation of the anxiety and fear of the people of Japan.
I mean, I don't remember that specific scene, but I've definitely like seen this strategy in movies before.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's not a novel idea. It's not like we invented it, but it is definitely something I think we adapted well.
Yes. I was originally going to have people like make it a collaborative thing and have people like write their own news reports and then just put them in the background. But it's okay. I just wrote up 4 different news stories instead. We just recorded them all, and then I just overlaid them.
My favorite was like you channeling that old man energy.
Which one?
For the angry guy.
The last old man?
Yeah, the last angry old man. It was like, and the government always, like, he was going off. He was so mad. It was the funniest. If you get a chance to, like, listen closely to the angry old man part of the news broadcast, it's so funny. It's really, Paul's old man voice also is hysterical.
Yes. We ended up, like, and all of those are like full recordings, and some of those like clips that we used for it, we only used like half of it. And it's just like, they're legitimate stories, and I feel like I did a good job writing those.
Yeah. You wrote them fully on your own?
I wrote them fully on my own.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I wanted it to be good. So what about your specific favorite parts? Did you have anything that like stood out to you?
I mean, I think I talked about mine already with the singing, because I was really nervous about it, and then it ended up being a favorite part. I love Echoes as a character as well. Like, he wasn't one that I got to voice, so I didn't spend a lot of time with him, but he fascinates me. So any time that he, came around and was like a focal point. I really enjoyed those scenes. I again dreaded doing the transmit to source line.
It took you a few times, but it came out.
It worked out, but it was very difficult for me to channel his energy, I think. It
was difficult for me too. He wasn't very simple. Like, I don't know how to even describe the voice I came up with him for, other than raspy as hell.
Yeah, I don't know either, but he's just a cool dude, and so I was excited to, have some parts with him. What?
Yeah, he has a little bit of a part in volume 6, I think. So if you ever want to keep reading, he has some dialogue in there if you want to like hear hear some stuff about his point of view.
Perhaps.
Let's see. How about like the story itself? I have a couple of things written here. Like one of my favorite things, we talked about some of this stuff, like mixed in with the other things. Like one thing I really love in particular about chapter 1, like if the rest of the story didn't exist and it was just a short story of a dude seeing that his girlfriend seems to have a split personality and she hangs out on rooftops and tussles with the cops. Like if you were to like cut out everything else after that, you could theoretically just like read the story and wonder to yourself, is she just crazy, or is there actually something supernatural going on in this school?
Can I interject with a hot take?
Yes.
About the novel?
Yes.
I don't like KG. I just don't like him. He is not interesting, number one, I don't think. And he is also just like, so, I don't know, he's, my girlfriend didn't meet me where she was supposed to.
Well, he did think he got stood up. He stood there for a long time, and he got made fun of by Satome and his friends.
Yeah, well, he deserved... No, it's fine. But I just don't... It seems, like, whiny to me.
Yeah, but we also deal with... We're actual teachers, and we deal with students who whine.
No, I don't think that's it.
Right.
I don't. I do think that about this fictional character, though.
I think...
and annoying.
He does whine a little bit, but also, like... He's still a young adult. Your brain doesn't stop developing till he's 25.
Yeah, I know.
And also, like, he was pretty isolated from his peers at that point. They were all pissed off at him because he didn't have to, like...
do the exams.
He didn't have to do the exams. He had his future pretty figured out. And he was very ostracized by his peers because of that.
I guess. I don't know. I just...
Loneliness is a killer, is what I'm saying.
I just think, like, in this sea of really interesting characters...
He doesn't stand out.
He's mid, as the kids would say.
But you know what? He also, like, talks to Boogiepop, and he brings out a lot of, like, the interesting stuff. He brings out a lot of interesting concepts, and he, like, introduces Boogiepop to the story and the series.
Oh, I'm not saying he's not important.
Okay.
I'm just saying he's not interesting.
Okay, that's fair.
He is important he's integral to the plot, but he's annoying. Somebody who is also integral to the plot, but really fascinating to me is Comic Shiro, to be honest.
Yeah. She's like literally the most important character.
She saves the earth by being nice.
Yeah, like seriously, how many times and how many stories could you possibly say that that a character saved the world by just being nice to the right person?
Just being a good person saved the entire planet.
Yes. And
human race.
I found it very interesting that her abilities, because she obviously had some sort of abilities, and for people who like read further into the Boogiepop series, she would be known as an MPLS. Don't ask me what that means, because I don't think it's ever like explained what MPLS means, but it basically means like mutant humans that have like developed special abilities.
Huh.
Yes. They get into that far more in the future. Like remember how I was making a big deal about the pronunciation of the Imaginator in Chapter 2?
Yes.
Yes, they are an MPLS. They have special abilities that they just naturally have. And Comic Shiro appears to have the ability to, like, the way that I think her ability is rooted in empathy, and through that she has like an extreme amount of empathy, and she can use that to like understand people's thoughts and feelings and see into their hearts. And that's why she was able to communicate with Echoes. I think that might have been part of the reason why she fell in love with people so quickly, because she kind of could just see into their hearts. And I think that made her just more not susceptible is the right word, but it increased her ability to like see people for who they are and probably fall in love with them a lot easier. And also, like, I think it's probably what killed her, because Echoes doesn't hang out in the pool room, which is where she got killed by the Manticore, right? He hangs out in the basement of the school. So why would Kamakshiro like come into the room saying, "What are you doing in here, Echoes?" I think what happened is the fact that the Manticore is a clone, that
They had the same like waves or whatever giving off.
Right, they had the same waves. They were giving off the same waves. And Kamakshiro mistook the Manticore for Echoes, and that's why she came into the room. Like, I think her ability to, like, read people's hearts and sense people, like, is what got her killed.
Her. That's unfortunate.
Yes. And a couple of little things, I think we went through most of these, but the one big thing, well, two things. We'll go over the last two things that I have here listed. The writer of the letter.
The letter.
Yes, I talked to the Boogiepop Discord a lot about this, and they, like, brought up a couple of points about, like, who the letter writer was. I thought it was Boogiepop at first.
I thought you thought it was, the other boy.
At first.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was at Boogiepop at first.
I see.
Yeah, because I thought it would make sense, because Kimura runs into Miyashita in the story, and I was thinking maybe that's like a how would I put it, like a progression thing. And then I thought it could have been Nagi, because Nagi was best friends with Kamakshiro, so it's theoretically possible. But due to like the only other person that was brought up to me, and it made a whole lot more sense later on for who could have written that letter, was Tanaka. And the reason being is his quote, which is very interesting because his quote in the beginning of the book with all the illustrations is not actually in the book. Like, the quote, I had to re-record this later for creating the trailer for this. It was, "I think he loved her more than I did." And it's just like, I looked through the book, like, a lot, and I went through it in my brain, because I'm like an encyclopedia of all the quotes of all the lines in this book from how many times how long I was working on this. I can tell, you could bring up any line in the book, and I could tell you what chapter it was probably in. But that line is not in the book at all. So that was really interesting to me.
That's peculiar.
I think it was like a hint as to who wrote that letter. And also, due to spoiler-related reasons that I'm not going to get into, it would make a lot of sense if he was the one who sent Kimura that letter in the mail. So that's where I'm going to leave that.
All right.
And the only other little thing that I wanted to, like, you weren't listening to the musical references as much as I was when I was, like, working through this. Like, I by the end of this book, I was so into Prince that it was crazy.
It's true, you've been talking about Prince a lot.
I love Prince now. I've listened to so much of his music. Sometimes It Snows in April is like one of my favorite songs of all time now. And I just can't get enough of Prince. But also, I really like The Court of the Crimson King. And I really liked I Wish You Heaven. And of course, I really love No One Lives Forever and Heartbreaker. Like, I love the quotation marks soundtrack for this entire book. I'm so obsessed with it. And if I was to say the song that I love the most, just because I love it. I love the energy. It's insane. No One Lives Forever. It's the song I probably listen to the most next to I Wish You Heaven. Like, those two songs, I love them. I've listened to them so much ever since I finished this. And Heartbreaker's also up there. The live version, particularly.
Oh.
But you don't have any particular songs out of the book soundtrack, do you?
No.
Because you never really listened to much of them.
I listened to them over your shoulder, essentially. I heard them playing a lot.
Tangentially.
I enjoyed No One Lives Forever the first, 2 times, and then I was like, okay, Oingo, settle down. It's enough of you. But I think I don't think I've given Prince a real chance. Like, I don't think I've really ever sat down and listened to Prince. So.
I'm going to fix that.
Okay. Well, that was terrifying.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, what era would you say this music is from? Is it 80s?
80s,
90s?
I'd say. It was
80s?
It was what was popular during the 80s.
Primarily 80s music? Okay.
Yeah, this was when Kohei Kodono was writing the book in the first place.
Got it. Okay. Well, that makes sense. And it's fascinating to me that it's like American.
Yeah, it's all American
bands,
music,
right? None of them. Or are there any of them from the UK?
Maybe the first one.
But it's none of it's
Romantic Warrior.
None of it's Japanese.
No, none of it's Japanese.
Fascinating.
Kohei Kodono loves American rock music and pop music.
That's so cool.
So much of the series, like, outside of just the first volume, like, so many of the characters and so many of the names of places in the coming volumes are all named after, like, American pop and rock stuff. Like, there's a location called Paisley Park in volume 2 and 3, and that's the name of a Prince album.
I love that.
And also, it just seems like Prince is his favorite, musician and singer of all time, because, like, it feels like it, but it's probably not. I feel like 50% of all the references that he makes of all the music is just Prince stuff.
Oh, it's funny.
Yes.
Did you watch that episode of New Girl with me where Prince was a guest star?
He was?
Yeah.
How long ago was that show on?
I don't know. Hang on. Let me fact check myself. You carry on while I look this up.
And while she looks that up, I'm going to go over the merch giveaway. Because I mentioned it earlier in the entire series that I would give away some merch. And I'm going to follow through on that. And I figured that the person who left the most amount of comments, and, like, the person who has, like, what's the word I'm looking for when a person, like, interactions. I think the person who has made the most amount of interactions throughout this entire series while it was being posted was Hugh. How do you pronounce that? Hugh Duyet Bui?
This looks French.
Hugh Duyet Bui.
Bro, please let us know how to properly pronounce your name, because it's fascinating.
Or I'll Google it. Either way, I think you deserve the merch more than anyone else. And I'm not saying that you guys don't, but when I was going through all the videos and tallying up all the comments, you were above and beyond everyone else when it came to, like, engagement on the channel. So we appreciate all of your engagement throughout this entire project. So I'm going to be posting in the pitch of, like, in this podcast, in this video right now, my Discord tag. So you can get in touch with me there, or you could just comment. No, you're not going to want to do that. You're not going to want to comment your address in a YouTube video.
Don't do that. That's unsafe.
So get in touch with me through Discord. Send me your address, and I will send you the merch, which is, drum roll please, a DVD of the live action movie of Boogiepop and Others.
Woohoo!
Which I accidentally bought 3 times.
3?
Yeah, a copy of it came in the DVD set for Boogiepop Phantom. And then I forgot that I ordered one. I thought that the sale didn't go through when I ordered it on eBay, and I accidentally ordered an extra copy. So, yeah, now we have 3. So we'll be back down to 2.
Hooray!
Yes. So, congratulations, Hugh, do yet we. And that's pretty much it. The only other thing we're going to go over in this video is like a little hint at what our next project is going to be.
A teaser, if you will.
Yes, and I feel like specific people in the Boogiepop Discord who are going to be able to figure this out really easily, what it is based on this hint. And the hint is as follows. It's a nonsensical murder mystery that takes place on a remote island.
Woo!
Yes, and it is the prequel to my favorite book of all time. Like, legitimately, Volume 2 in this series is my favorite book of all time. And I was thinking about jumping forward and tackling it first, but then I was like, I can't do that. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to do... Oh, I almost said the name. I'm going to do Volume 1 of the series, and then I will move on to my favorite book of all time. And as for when these videos will start releasing, I have already started working on the script for it. I legitimately have to make a color-coded script because of how complicated this is going to be with the 13 separate characters. But I think I'm going to start releasing the episodes around June. Like around the time when I started releasing this project for Boogiepop. Because right now we are both working. Mm-hmm. And our jobs are very tiring. And we only have a certain amount of time to work on the project. True. So I don't have like 3 straight months of free time like I did for this project. So I think by the time June comes around, I should be able to finish the majority of this project. And, yeah, by that point, I will start probably posting it very tentatively 6/23/2024.
25.
25. Yes, 25.
We're not going back in time. We don't have that ability.
I wish. But yes, around the time when the summer break starts for 2025. Other than that, we'll be making, like, updates, and I'll be putting out a trailer, like, once it's done, so that you guys know exactly what the book is going to be.
For the next one.
Right.
I was going to say, I thought you put out the trailer for this already.
No, I put it out. Although, I really should have thought to make it before I actually started airing the entire series, but live and learn.
Next time.
Yes. And that about wraps it up. If you guys have any questions about future projects, if you just really enjoyed our work on this audiobook, please leave any questions, any comments, like in the video's comment section. And also, I'm going to leave a little plug right here for our Ko-fi account. So if you've really enjoyed our work on this audiobook, you want to, like, donate, you don't have to. It doesn't really make a difference. But yeah, if you want to send a little bit of something our way, we would appreciate it. You can just send it straight to our Ko-fi account. And even if you don't, we're going to keep making audiobook videos one way or the other, regardless of whether or not we get any support of that amount.
Yeah, and the support you provide us with your commentary and engagement with the videos is enough.
And it's more preferred, in my opinion, than the actual money. Like, I love listening to everyone's comments, and it's been, like, one of the things that's kept me going throughout all of this. I really appreciate, just the engagement. The engagement is what I look forward to more than anything else. And that about wraps it up. Do you have any last words you want to add to this?
I was going to try to say something clever and, like, drop a quote from the novel or something. And my brain lost all information that when you asked me. Like, my whole entire brain went blank. It was like that episode of SpongeBob where he was looking for his name.
Oh, what's the name? What's the name? And then all the people in his brain are, like, going crazy.
In the file cabinets.
Yeah, he threw out everything but fine dining.
And breathing.
He luckily he remembered to breathe.
Okay.
But yeah, you got nothing?
Come back to me on the next one.
All right. So, like, in whenever the new series finishes going, and we have to make the next post-production wrap-up podcast.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, again, we really appreciate everyone who has been with us throughout this entire project. Look forward to more updates soon, and thank you. Yes, I really can't thank you guys enough.
Yes, thank you. This has been a lot of fun to do, and we hope to do more of these for you, so thank you for your support.
Yes. You guys have a great rest of your day, or night, or whatever it is you have left. Bye.
Bye.